Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Breakdown with Bethany. I'm Bethany Braun Silva, and today my guest is going to teach us all about the power of positivity. Kristen Butler is the CEO of The Power of Positivity, which is an online community of more than 50 million people that helps to uplift and inspire you to live your best, most abundant life. Now, I really, truly believe in the power of positive thinking, and that's why I was so excited to talk to Kristen about her incredible journey. She's an author and a mom, so definitely check out this conversation to take one step closer to a more positive life. Kristen, tell us who you are and what you do. I was reading a bit of your story. It is really, really inspiring to say the least, and I would just love to hear it from you.
Yeah, so a little over a decade and a half, I was at rock bottom. Every area of my life was falling apart. And at that point, I had so many bouts of burnout that I couldn't get out of bed. I was in bed for 2 weeks straight, and so many negative thoughts were running through my head. And I got to a point where I kind of spun myself into this place where I'm like, maybe I should just give up. Maybe I've failed too much. Maybe there's no hope for me. And in that place, I really had to decide like, give up or try something new. And that's when I tried something new. I started investing in self care, investing in me, and instead of putting it into my business and people outside of me, right? And so it was this really beautiful, positive journey that I embarked on. And after a few years, um, when every area of my life started transforming, Facebook had pages. They just started pages. And I thought, I'm going to make this about something for me that's not about work. And so I started Power of Positivity, and I just wanted to share how effective living a positive lifestyle is. And at that time, there really wasn't anything like that on social media. And so that's where Power of Positivity started.
And tell us a little bit. We'll jump into all the sort of nitty gritty of it, but tell us what it is now.
Yeah, we are over. So I have Power of Positivity, and then I have a few smaller pages, and then my own brand as well. And we're at over 56 million followers on Facebook, where we originally started, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, we're everywhere.
And what do you think? I mean, it's so easy to say yes. We always want to be positive. We want to choose positivity. We want to kind of see the positive, but it seems almost like second nature to kind of go down that path of negative thinking, right? And really let it take over us. But it's sort of the proof is in the pudding in your Facebook groups and all of your followers that we're looking for that. We're looking for that positivity. And what do you think that's about?
Wow, science tells us that we have this negativity bias, right? Where we go into this survival mode and we're looking for ways to protect ourselves. But if we can consciously build the habit of turning those negatives into positives, looking for what we're grateful for every day, just basic things like being kind to others, right? And doing like, just random acts of kindness. And we just kind of build this into our everyday lifestyle, these kinds of habits. Our lives will transform day by day. And that's where the power is when we start seeing it transform within. And we're not going to see it right away. But when you look back weeks, months, years, decades, for me, you're like, there is so much power and transformation when we tend to our wellness and our mental health that I think when we feel that the real truth in our own transformation, that's when we believe in it, right? It's so easy to kind of say it's just woo woo or it's cliche, just stay positive. But when we can turn those challenges into positives and we see how we've overcome, that's where the magic is, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned, you did mention that you were at rock bottom when you decided to make this transformation. And this is a podcast really for mothers, and we talk about postpartum depression, and for a lot of moms, that is their rock bottom, but they don't know it, right? And they're not sort of able to pull themselves out of that dark moment. Can you tell us a little bit about what was the catalyst or the light bulb moment for you of being able to recognize your own rock bottom? And then the second part of that question is, how can people ask for help if they're not really able to do that, if they're not able to recognize their own rock bottom or are uncomfortable asking for help or being able to help themselves? What do you suggest for that?
Wow, that's all great questions. I've had two girls, so I totally understand like the ebbs and flows after having children. I think that when we start to see that everyday things just aren't bringing us joy, when we're avoiding being around people we love and care about, those are really big red flags because we're people that, humans want to be around others and they want to, have that connection. And so at first you might think, I just want to be by myself. But over time, if you really are avoiding situations, avoiding people, those are huge red flags. And that is a time when you don't really want to reach out or ask for help, but it's more uncomfortable to be where you are than to reach out. And when we do reach out, we realize that we're all struggling with something and that it's okay to reach out to someone. And if you don't feel like you have someone close enough who may understand, reach out to a professional. When I was at rock bottom, I didn't see it either. And so my husband actually had to, you know, call a therapist and report that I was having these really disturbing thoughts. And that was uncomfortable in itself to have someone else, who loves you have to do something like that. But it saved my life really because I didn't realize that I was in that place because oftentimes we don't. But that's why it's so important to surround ourselves with people who encourage us, love us, can kind of tell us when things aren't really, the other day, for example, I told my friend, I said, "Hey, I want to see you smile a little bit more," because she's been working so much. And I didn't really mean anything by it, right? But she later, a few days, said to me, I went and got a massage because you were so right when you pointed out that I wasn't smiling as much. I needed to fill my own cup and I needed to take care of myself. And so we need these people around us.
I really love that. And then you did kind of touch on the little things that we can do throughout our day, throughout our lifetime, really, to kind of help build that positivity muscle. I know gratitude is a big one, but what are some other ones if someone is maybe crawling out of that, that rock bottom ditch, and it can sometimes be a slow crawl. What are things that they can start practicing every day?
When you're in that place, gratitude is definitely the first one. And that can even just be like, I have this person in my life, I have a roof over my head, I have this bed that I'm sleeping on, and then build from there. I would really recommend having a very strong gratitude practice when you're in that place because that's what really helped me. When I started looking in the mirror, instead of hating on myself, I started to find things that I loved about myself. And it's a slow process. You're not going to wake up the next day and just be in love with yourself, right? It's going to take time, but when you are specific, like, wow, I love my smile, I love my eyes, I love this mark on my body or this stretch mark from having these beautiful children, and you get really minute. That's where the self-love really builds, and it's not an egotistical thing. It's literally loving on yourself in a way that helps you have healthier mental health. So definitely gratitude is my top one. I also love affirmations. And we're saying affirmations every single day. They just might not be positive. It's the statements that we're saying about ourselves and our lives. And when we catch ourselves being negative, I like to write it down. And then counter that. Write the flip of that. What do I actually want to say to myself? How do I actually want to feel? Or even if we're saying something about someone else, well, how do I actually want to feel about that? And then we start affirming these more positive things in our life, we are going to see the transformation because we're fixated on the good versus the bad. So those are my top two, really. If you're in that kind of place, it's so easy to move the dial by doing those two things.
I really, really love that. I think I have to put that second one into practice a little bit more for sure. But tell me also about your community because right before our meeting today, I took your quiz online, and I am living in my comfort zone. But I think it's through years and years of some self reflection. So tell us a little bit about the different zones and the quiz and how what people come to your website. What can they expect?
I love that you took the quiz. That's amazing. So, the quiz that you're talking about is the 3 zones of living. So, you decide what zone you're living in, and all of us are living in one of these zones right now. But the most important part of all of it and why we need to understand which one we're in is that it determines the quality of our life, the one that we spend most of our time in. And so, the comfort zone, I actually redefine the comfort zone. It's actually a place that is comfortable. And then it's also a place of growth. It's really like your happy place. It's where you have access to flow and positive emotions. And so, if you're in your comfort zone, you probably have done a lot of self reflection and journaling because you've really gotten to know yourself and your preferences and your skill sets, and then you've expanded from that place. And so, that's ideally where we want to be as humans. Comfort zones today, when people talk about them, they're talking about this static place that never grows and you're complacent and you're lazy. But oftentimes, when people are there, they're not comfortable. They have a ton of fears and doubts and insecurities and even past traumas that they need to work through. And so instead of shaming them and telling them they're in a comfort zone and they need to get out of it, we should start telling them, what is it that you like to do? What is comfortable for you? And then allow them to expand from that place, because that's how we're going to see the transformation and the growth. And so in the book, I talk about, the comfort zone as I've described, but then the complacent zone. And this is when we might appear lazy. We might appear like we're not motivated. But again, we're filled with doubts and fears and insecurities, and that's why we're stuck. And then there's the survival zone. That's the third zone. And this is where most people are today. It's the hustle culture, the go, 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 the busy, where we feel like we can, never get over on top of our to do list, right? And so this is where we're kind of trained to go, right? We're kind of trained to live in this place, but at what cost? Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we resting as much as we should? Are we just kind of drinking coffee and going through the day, you know, with as much energy as possible to get as much as we can done? And so when we can identify which zone we're in and then which zone we want to be in, which, the comfort zone, right? Then we can move to that place when we know where we are.
I love that. Kristen, I read something online the other day. I think it was on Instagram, something about don't let your storm get your kids wet. And then we are, like I said, we're a mom podcast. So we talk really to our audience of moms. And that really struck a chord with me. And I feel like now talking to you, it feels a lot like the kind of work that you do, right? I mean, we all come to any relationship, romantic or our parents or raising our kids with our own stuff, right? But how do you, and I read your story and I know that you have had a lot to overcome as well. And raising your children, your two girls, how do you sort of approach that, or how are you teaching them about positivity and things like that?
Oh, I love that. Even just yesterday, I gave them a new journal because they said they had lost my journal. And, they seemed a bit bored yesterday and, a little bit kind of cranky. And I gave them the journal and I'm like, let's sit down and write what we're grateful for. And so I saw such a difference when they did that and they wrote down. So in the journal, there's a gratitude practice, and then there's affirmations, and then there's a priority list, which is my 11-year-old really needed that one, right? To know like what do I need to do today? And
I
then
have
there's
I have
some,
an 11-year-old too, so
yeah,
I
yeah.
get
So it's like they're in this place where they're like, what do I do? Like there's so much going on and there's so much at school that on the weekend they kind of don't want to do anything. But when they realize that there is some things they want to do and they can do, it takes that boredom away and it kind of gets them into more positive action. So for me, I like to let them have as much fun as they can, but then also responsibility. So my girls, they have piano lessons, something for their mind, and then a sport, for their bodies to keep them busy. But I don't try to overload their schedule, so they can still be kids, right? And I think if you can find that healthy balance for them, and every child is different, right? But if you can find things that they love and things that they can have fun doing and then keep them active, right? Then they're going to be good kids. Kids are kids, and you can just only do the best that you can do.
I love that. We're all doing the best we can, right? Raising
Yeah.
kids. But you mentioned the journal. And I love, oh my goodness, I love a guided journal. I just love them. But tell us a little bit, not just what we can find in the journal, but also tell us about the process of creating it. What prompts versus others, why did you choose those, or the different affirmations or anything like that? Tell us about your process of creating the journal.
Wow, that's great. So I created the journal a few years ago, my first one, the 3 Minute Positivity Journal. And I just kind of put together the different things that I found most effective for myself through my transformation into morning and evening entries. So I am really big on having a morning practice and then an evening practice. So you want to set yourself up in a positive way to create that positive momentum, but then you want to end your day in a restful way so that you have positive reflections. You're not shaming yourself for not doing enough, but then you're also able to have restful sleep. So I noticed in my community that people were feeling very inspired, but they needed the accountability to take action. And they were also very busy. And so I made it 3 minutes in the morning, and so many people have even timed it, right? They're like, no, really, it takes 3 minutes, and then 3 minutes in the evening. And so the morning one lets you kind of check off what kind of self-care you want to do. And you don't have to do all the things listed, but I have a few examples, for every area of your life. And you have a little area for you to write down your affirmations. And I really love actually to create a few affirmations and then do those on repeat. So instead of having a different one every single day, and while that can be effective, I find it really effective to create one and then kind of master that, kind of embody that. And then when you have, put another one in and change it up. And so over time, you realize, like, wow, look how much I've grown because I've expanded my affirmations. And so, yeah, I'm kind of getting long winded on this one, right? Sorry.
All right.
You know, I love the gratitude that's on both entries, the morning and evening, and then affirmations. There's a little prompt because I just love inner reflection. And it's good to just kind of think about different things every day and understand ourselves of why we do something or what our preferences are. And then there is a little section at the bottom to just journal because some people love to journal and some people aren't a huge fan. So I left a little section at the bottom in case you had additional, thoughts or feelings.
I love that. And so, Kristen, how can people get in touch with you or get involved in your community or even buy one of these amazing products?
I love Instagram, so I'm always updating my stories and my posts so we can connect on Instagram. And then, yeah, all the books are on sale on Amazon. So that's probably the best place. Most people love Amazon, right?
Yeah, of course. So tell us, what is your Instagram handle?
Oh, yes, at Positive Kristen.
Tell us the names of the books and where we can get them.
Yeah, so the first one was 3 Minute Positivity Journal, and then The Comfort Zone, which I did with Hay House. And then Hay House loved the journal so much that they bought the 3 Minute Positivity Journal, and then we together created 3 Minute Happiness Journal. And so the third one, I hadn't talked about it, but it's really about creating inner happiness. And so I have a little section in the beginning about how you create inner happiness, and then you take that into the journal entries every day.
Beautiful. Kristen, thank you so much. It's been really, really such a positive experience talking to
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Bethany.
you.